Hey, what's up? This is Chosen. Wanted to get a video out where we place Valkanen on the tier list and talk about some of the thoughts surrounding him as a champion, because anytime a new Void Legendary gets added to the roster, it is a big deal. And he's got a pretty crazy kit, so he's going to be one of those champions that can kind of move around a little bit and have a lot of different perspectives on him, so I wanted to keep you in the loop as to how people are feeling. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so first of all, as you can see over there on the right side, that's pretty good grades. Honestly, that's probably a little bit better than I thought it was going to be for grading Valkanen out the gate. About 50% of people are putting him as an S tier champion for their first initial grades. And usually, in my experiences playing raid and doing content and all that, is that usually the community will lean towards grading super harsh. Like the community, if anything, they'll undersell a champion, and then if they end up being good, the community will evolve to thinking they're good. But the community usually takes a let's wait and see approach, and they usually don't rate people super highly out the gate unless they're just obviously insane. So I honestly would have thought that this would end up being like 30 and then 50 and then like 10 and 10 or something is kind of what I would have predicted. But we've got a pretty decent spread of almost half of people that are voting, putting him in the S tier straight away for a Void Legendary, which is pretty solid. And obviously I hosted the poll, so I don't get a vote here on the channel. I should have logged into my Diablo channel and cast a vote here. But no, anyway, if I was gonna click on a vote, I probably would have went right here. I would place him in the A tier. By the way, sometimes people ask why you don't put every tier. YouTube only lets us do these polls with 4 choices, so I have to combine the tiers a little bit and combine A and B, C and D, and then have the polar edges of S and F. But yeah, anyway, for me right now, I would have went in the A tier, would have been my vote, but this is pretty solid for a Void Legendary because you've got almost 90% of people that are putting him in either S, A, or B, which means he's going to be a pretty solid addition to the Void Legendary roster. And then let's go over what some of you are saying out there. S tier for Hydra, and if Plarium keeps nerfing Polymorph very strong in the arena, also seems extremely fun and unique. Yep, I think that's a really good comment. It could be definitely really good for the Hydra if the multipliers are good, because you could do some very interesting things, the AoE Hex, the AoE Weaken, the debuff spread, the debuff extending, and all that. So if he also hits hard, I could definitely see him having a lot of utility in the Hydra, and he's also Void, so he's never going to get hit weak, he's never going to get hit strong by the enemy or anything like that, so he could definitely slot in very good there. And Polymorph is just super rough in general. It hits a lot of champions and really lowers their value a lot. And the reason Polymorph ends up being rough on him is his Malice Unleashed ability, which you can see before attacking, it's going to steal all buffs from the target, which can't be resisted. That is insanely powerful. You can go to a high resistance target like a Duchess or something and remove everything. Remove the block debuffs and all that stuff, and then put it on yourself instead of just removing it, and then also get to attack them with an attack that is tailor-made to give you the proper value for the target you're going up against. So it would be very cool, but the problem is those champions are typically like a Duchess in the arena is going to have like a Polymorph. So what he's going to do, he's going to run up and steal stuff, and then he is just going to sheep himself and not even get to attack them with the powerful ability. So you know what could have been kind of fun? Like, Plarium obviously does not want to address Polymorph. They're gonna mostly leave it with its role in the game, and we kind of know that by now. So what could have been cool is they could have made this ability say at the bottom that it cannot proc the Polymorph Blessing. So you at least have a champion in the game that is stealing buffs, and then they are immune to becoming a sheep, and that would give him a really carved out role in the game. So that could have been an opportunity for them to mitigate some of that concern about Polymorph nuking a lot of his value, because I think that Valkanen is going to have a lot of value in the live arena potentially if his multipliers are good with a damage dealer. You always have to have that caveat, obviously, because we have to see how hard he hits and how well he scales with good gear. But if he hits hard, he's one of those champions that could give you a lot of value playing manual, so it could be very good in the context of somewhere like the live arena where you're incentivized to really play manual more often than not. So the reason I say that is because you can pick which target has high resistance and a lot of buffs, and then really single them out and steal all those buffs. And then also he's got this A3 right here, Death's Bargain, where you have to target a specific ally based on if they're alive or dead and all that. And his whole kit can get a little bit wonky because you also have the debuff spread going on as well with the A1 right here, where you have to choose which enemy to increase the duration of all debuffs, and then you also apply a debuff spread. So really in everything that he's got going on, it's going to be optimal to manual and do it effectively, everything except for the A2 right here. But he's got 4 abilities that you're going to be targeting enemies with the A1, the A2, the A3, and then the A4 that he unlocks. And 3 out of the 4, you could argue it would be more optimal to really target manually as the player. So I think it would have been really fun to make him immune to polymorph with this ability, and that would have really gave him an awesome role in the live arena. But then as some of the other opinions here, S tier Hydra Nuker, specialty teams in the arena. S tier new avoid Lego and profit please. Then would have been S tier if he also could revive his teammates. Yeah, it's gonna get a little bit weird with that ability there, where you kind of pick a target and kill them. You're really gonna have to build a special team around him to support all that. He's good, but good enough for avoid Lego, I don't know. And then I'll say A and B because we don't know his multipliers. Yeah, that's kind of the camp that I was in. I'm gonna go with A right now because he's super interesting and he's got a lot of fun stuff going on, but it's all going to come down to how hard he hits. If he hits insanely hard, then he's probably going to be an S tier champion, especially if you build the proper team around him. Triple S tier for Hydra, A and B everywhere else. Without seeing the numbers, A, okay, reserve twice team in action, B and A, all comes down to the multipliers, yep, okay, reserve twice team in action, yep, complaining about the polymorph, that's going to be brutal for him. We'll work with played manually, hey, that's what I was saying, yep, so really designed to shine somewhere playing manual in the live arena, there we go. Can skip banning lockout champs in the live arena with the A1. I mean, especially if the A1 hits hard. Maybe PvE, but for PvP arena. Another complaint about polymorph. Yeah, okay. So, yep, it looks like most of the opinions of the general overarching sentiment around Valkanen, solid. If he hits hard, he could sneak into that S tier. And it looks like most people are thinking he's probably going to hit pretty hard just based on the structure of his kit. So, a lot of people pulling the trigger and going with putting him up in the S tier. But if not, he's going to fall into that A and B tier. But okay, let's also pull up the Void Legendary tier list and let's get Valkanen placed on here. Now, full disclosure, I had to redo this tier list quickly here on the fly for the video because the damn tier maker website, it completely deleted my Void Legendary tier list and reset it. So all of the input I had from other people and touching base and getting consensus on the different rankings, that all got wiped out and erased. So I just kind of got surprised by that when I went to the site and had to redo it on the fly. So it's not going to be as perfectly fine-tuned as it otherwise would be, but I will get it done again and I'll touch base with other people and get these rankings fine-tuned. But I kind of threw them all on the board here for just like my first overall impressions, just to be able to put Valkanen and give you some context on him. And then also we do a little bit of a different scale for the Void Legendaries. We go S+, S, A, B, and C, because Void Legendaries are going to skew towards having a little bit more power on average in the overall landscape of the game because of the things like they can't hit weak, so they're going to be a lot more reliable on placing their debuffs no matter what the affinity is, and they also can't be nuked down as hard because they can't be hit strong by opponents based on affinity and all that type of stuff. Which is why we have a little bit of a different structure here on the tiers of S+, S, A, B, and C. But okay, obviously we've got Valkanen down there on the bottom right. He's not going to grade out as the worst Void Legendary for sure. We're going to be sliding him up. So I'm thinking he probably is going to go, depending on his multipliers, he's going to go somewhere in between like Yumeko and Ramantu. Well, like somewhere in between that slot. So somewhere either like right here to right here, depending on his multipliers and how some of the kit shakes out after we get him tested. So right now, I'm going to probably place him somewhere around like right there. I do have faith that his multipliers are probably going to be pretty good. So I think he is going to sneak into that top 10 of the Void Legendaries and have a lot of fun utility. He could end up going all the way up here, like in front of Lydia, in front of Mithrala, and really sneak into that top 5 tier if he can nuke super hard and he ends up performing super well. But right now, I'm going to place him right there with the caveat that we might move him up if the multipliers surprise us in a good way. If they just are kind of what I expect them to be, I'm going to put him right there kind of in that Gorgid, Necrit, Taras tier. But then also, if we slide up from the Valkanen discussion, I probably won't do a dedicated video on Lady of Ireth, but I did want to at least show you while we're here in the video how some of the polling is skewing right now. I did just host this today, so we're going to need some time for the votes to trickle in a little bit. We've only got a few hundred right now, but it looks like the voting on Lady of Ireth is going to be scaling mostly towards about the B tier, because you're going to see A and B, C and D get the most votes, but it's going to skew towards up here, which means the overall consensus of her is probably going to lean B for the overall grade, which I kind of agree with. If I had to vote for a specific letter grade, it would probably be like a B, B+. And we do have a crazy event going on right now with the 2x Sacreds with a 10x boosted chance to get her in game. So you never know, I might get crazy this weekend. I might get wild when I'm trying to make sure I go for the Void Legendary that is up for grabs in the event right here that you can see with the Champion at Chase Tournament. I gotta get 3,200 points for the Void Legendary. I'll have to see how kind of all of that shakes out when we're going for that, and maybe YOLO towards getting a Lady Ireth in the 10x, but the odds are pretty low on that, as you know. But yeah, I appreciate all of you. Let me know your thoughts down below on where I rated Valkanen, and if you agree and disagree. Appreciate all of you doing the voting over on the polls, and as always, would mean a lot to earn your sub today if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content. I will see you soon in the next video. Thanks. Peace.